Today in BRStv Reef FAQ Wednesday, does a Triton Method really break the bank, or is it cheaper than everything else? Hey, I'm Ryan with BRStv Reef FAQs, where every week we do our best to help you guys enjoy your tank and find new ways to explore the hobby. We do that with quick, straight to the point answers to your questions. Today, how much does a Triton Method really cost? And we're absolutely going to get to the bottom of that today with some super clear figures. There are many areas where I don't mind paying a premium for a solution that meets my desires or challenges, but it needs to deliver and still be reasonable. In the case of the Triton Core 7, it's one of the only, if not the only, calcium and alkalinity and trace element solution designed for use with the refugium and related nutrient uptake, and that potentially applies to algae scrubbers as well. So outside of the 4-part Core 7, the big question is how many of these tiny little single element bottles you'll need, how many ICP tests, and how that balances with the salt reduction of the full Triton Method. The answer in that depends on if you're a mad scientist or a reasonable reef keeper, so let's take a look. Starting with the Core 7 major, minor, and trace element solution, it does look expensive when reviewing the size of the container, but it's a lot more concentrated, so it's hard to tell. Luckily, Randy did the math for us a couple weeks ago, so you have to scale this with your tank, but with a fairly heavily demand 100-gallon tank that consumes 1 DKH a day and the balanced 7 parts per million calcium, with the Core 7, it costs $30.61 a month for the 1-liter size, and for the new 4-liter size, which is close to a gallon, it drops all the way to $21.40 a month. That $20 to $30 a month range is certainly a lot more than the $3 a month for the BRS bulk pharma calcium chloride and soda ash, but it's actually right in the middle of the pack of most of the retail additive packages, something I think a lot of us were surprised by once we did the math. So some reefers will stop right there and just use the Core 7 as their calcium and alkalinity solution, again, particularly those looking for something formulated specifically for running refugiums and likely beneficial for algae scrubbers as well. However, running the real Triton Method also means ICP tests, and rather than a shotgun approach to water changes, using testing for when to do them and then correcting with individual elements as needed. So how much does that cost, and does it balance with the reduced cost of salt? So most reefers will send in 2 to 4 of these tests a year, meaning every 3 to 6 months. This is designed to just give you a pulse on what's going on, not so you can play mad scientist with tests every other week. In the beginning, I'd suggest 1 every 3 months or so you can get a pulse on your new system, but after everything is stable and you understand the tank's new natural rhythm, you can likely scale that back to twice a year, plus the inevitable extra one when you see something odd with the tank and you want to check. Net of that is, I think, 3 a year is probably about average, and that's $141 a year with the 3-pack, or $150 individually. Related to that, the test is going to make you do some adjustments and pick up some individual elements to correct the natural seawater levels as well. So how many of those little bottles do you need is directly related to your mindset. Are you a mad scientist or not? The mad scientist will try and correct every last yellow here in the report, and a more reasonable reefer will only address the red items from the ICP test results. You can tell from my tone that I personally only suggest fixing the red items. That's partially because ICP isn't perfect, just the best window in our tanks that we've ever had. But even then, I think fixing trends over time is better than whacking moles. So if yellow turns red, fix it, but if it stays yellow, make an individual decision on each one based on that trend and what you know about the element's importance. In any case, based off those test results, I bet you're gonna pick up about 4 of these 32 bottles in a year for about $134. Most will last a really long time, and you actually may build a collection over time. Okay, so the ICP test and individual elements will cost about $284 a year. So combined, how does that stack up against the fact that you can avoid many water changes with the Triton Method? Well, based on the same 100-gallon tank with 10% weekly water changes in Randy's video on how much does your salt mix really cost, and a range from 39 cents a gallon from the cheapest to 55 cents a gallon for the best, a range of $202 to $286, which really means the Triton Method is nearly identical to the best salt with Tropic Marin and more expensive than the cheapest salt. Now that doesn't really tell the whole story because you need to add in some RODI water for the water changes, time, and equipment. And to be frank, the Triton Method isn't going to get rid of all the water changes, just a portion of them. But that's going to balance out and be different to each person based on water costs and how many changes you actually do. So the net here is it looks like the Triton Core 7 is right in the middle of the pack in terms of cost in your average retail calcium and alkalinity trace element package. Not as cheap as the bulk BRS Pharma, but substantially cheaper than many, which I think is a surprise. As to the other consumable components of the method, well, I think it's really close enough to a wash to doing water changes in most cases. It probably won't be a primary decision factor for most reefers. For instance, those looking to take a more precise approach to when to perform water changes. The big question here is, does it really deliver on that message of reducing water changes? We actually answered that based on our prolonged experience, and there's a more refined answer than yes or no. If you're considering Triton, I would certainly watch this one. See you next Wednesday with the next batch of BRStv Reef FAQs, and don't forget, we update the BRS homepage with new videos every weekday.